Chapter 1: Introducing a Different Paradigm.
This is a theory that must be read and studied with an open mind. In a world being driven by increasingly rapid change, it is becoming more and more urgent that we fully understand what we as humans, the dominant species on our planet, our composition, our psyche, and particularly our origins. Without this understanding, it is logically impossible to grow a society with an overarching philosophy for a positive, rewarding destiny. In the course of my thinking about these matters, I made a discovery that I think has got huge ramifications for our human race. However, it is up to the reader to decide if it is as significant as what I think it is. About the year 430 BC, the philosopher Plato observed that the people were being continuously told what to think instead of being taught how to think. And in all this time, nothing appears to have changed. What is taught is easily changed or forgotten, but what one thinks out for themselves can be changed, altered, but never forgotten. That tends to make thinking a lonely business. Thinking and observation is the father of education, yet education tends to limit individual thinking. Education-wise, when something is accepted as fact, that can preclude any further investigation. And this is where the thinker is necessary to examine, to question, to ask what if. Has something been missed or discounted? Has a small mistake been made that is grown by parallax error, thus distorting our understanding of a particular problem? As a thinker, this is where my curiosity led me to find fertile ground in our accepted and acquired knowledge of the origins of man, for the clues to understanding logically must be in the origins. Science has delved deep into our material universe, defining the laws of nature and extracting those laws to provide great benefit to our race. Benefit and understanding in science, physics, medicine, agriculture. But I sometimes wonder if science realizes that their work only discovers the laws, the formulae, the mathematics, etc., that are already there. They may claim great knowledge and advancement, but they are only pupils in the great living eternal university of life. Looking backward down the long stairwell of history, depicting the rise of mankind, it is easy to note that the rise has been obtained by struggle, initially the struggle to survive against nature, and learning from that to adapt and conquer our environment, to unravel and understand the great book of the cosmos and creation, its mathematically and scientifically base and language, and learning from those discoveries and using and manipulating them for the good or detriment of mankind. It is considering this point that my thinking finds the first trance of unease. It is here that our scientists and scholars betray the first traces of hubris by failing to recognize that their discoveries already existed within the great matrix of nature and the universe. Despite our accumulation of knowledge and progress, nothing new has been created by science. It was all there already, waiting to be discovered, withdrawn, and used. Mathematics, science, and physics, and probably other disciplines as yet undiscovered, are all there, a treasure box waiting to be exploited by man. The problem is how man will use these treasures. This makes it increasingly urgent that we unravel the mystery of what man is, his origins and his motivation, as this knowledge is necessary for the protection and preservation of a humane society. With little knowledge of scientific discoveries and history, my knowledge is mostly confined to contemporary Western civilization, but even my observation from that small window has shown me some anomalies in our accepted understanding of human origins. I feel too much reliance has been placed upon Darwin's ascent of man and the out of Africa theory proposed after the discovery of the oldest fossil remains of what was termed Eve, the mother of all humans. What if a lion had killed her? What if a lion did? There may be older fossil remains elsewhere, undiscovered. I find this theory to be a big ask. I feel that it has become accepted in the absence of more critical lateral thinking. Like, why should a relatively small number of people in a fertile country be driven to emigrate by land and sea, a migration generally caused by war, drought, hunger, and demanding survival skills that would normally have taken generations to acquire? In my skepticism, I've listened to how these African people moved out to populate the world and producing the different races we have got today. The Negroid, the Mongoloid, the Caucasians, etc. And I find such an explanation not to be logical. Those who propose the out of Africa are surprisingly silent when asked to explain the teeming millions of India and China in relation to a migration of Negroids from Africa. Logic tells me there is a different explanation, but for a different explanation we may have to go back into the pre-creation matrix from which everything was evolved, keeping in mind that we look on eternity as going forward. It reaches backwards as well. If I were to unravel the mystery of human evolution, I quickly realized there was no grounds in contesting the discoveries already made by science in the fields of our physical makeup, our DNA, etc. But I also realized that if the real answer had not conclusively emerged from these eons of study, the problem then might lie in something science had ignored. Careful examination of their work in relation to the pervading human belief that we are spiritual as well as material easily disclosed the rejection of spirit by science. This was understandable, as the dictate of all science generally is to ignore all that is untouchable, unseeable, and unproven. This is a reasonable situation until one realizes that it ignores a basic atavistic human belief that mankind has accepted from the dawn of time. This is not an acquired or taught belief, but is common to all, even the most remote and primitive. The belief in something greater than ourselves, something out there, a belief that metamorphosized into the existence of gods and devils, but still an acceptance even by individual science of its existence. In my thinking, I realized that this could be the missing link. This part of the human puzzle not addressed by science, living ignored as it were in full view. So now in the theory of what if, there is energy, matter, time, space, and spirit. Spirit, not the ethereal and airy-fairy of religions, but a natural substance, invisible and eternal, permeating all of the universe, inextricably melded with matter, and possibly the most powerful element in our universe. Thus, having established another element in the mix of nature, but not a new element, thinking made me look further into the makeup of nature and humans, to see if there was something else that had been unexamined, and it was easy to come up with intelligence. Science believes that we are intelligent because of an accidental shuffling of our DNA, I feel they could have come up with a more realistic theory. First of all, the idea of an accident is a bit of a worry, because if accidents in our evolution were possible, another accident could destroy us all. Such an explanation only preserves the hubris of human, as it denigrates the intelligent properties of animals, insects, sea life, and vegetable life. It precludes the realization of a world and cosmos inhabited by unimaginable force of intelligence, permeating every inch of our cosmos and the world and all life within it, material, animal, vegetable, and mineral. As humans, our brain has evolved to withdraw the laws and beauty of the cosmos to our advantage. Other life forms rely on their instinctive knowledge of nature and their environment for their survival, but that instinct is a level of intelligence which may be greater than ours on their natural survival level. The presence of intelligence as a primal force on its own is evidence much too great to be ignored, which with what if brings us to see the fundamental pillars of life and the universe as energy, matter, time, space, spirit, and intelligence. Intelligence, the ultimate force of unimaginable power, inside thinking, not a god outside with a finger writing. So when our scientists retreat their thinking to before the Big Bang, they find an eternal matrix of at least energy, matter, spirit, and intelligence. Whether such a combination carried the instability of the Big Bang, or whether it was delivered at the decision of the intelligence quantum, the result was a universe composed of all the basic components of that matrix to produce a living universe having matter as the basic component. This resultant matter, however, may not have featured as matter in the original matrix. Energy would have been the driving force, converting to matter through the Big Bang and reverting to its eternal characteristic when matter is used or manipulated, either by man or nature. Along with its integrated spirit and intelligence, it provides the driving force in all creation. So, as an intelligent creative force evolved the living universe, it also evolved a living world with all its myriad of life forms. First, grass and trees providing cover and food for the evolving animals, birds, and insects, all templates for the evolution of man, the last to evolve with none to follow, which would indicate us to have been the primary aim of creation. From the living Mother Earth, we all evolved, not necessarily from a single source in Africa, but all over the world, our physical traits dictated by our environment and climate. Thus we had white in the colder northern climates, black in Africa changing to brown and yellow of the east. It's possible humans evolved much earlier in China, which would account for the high numerical disparities. An interesting discovery made a few years back on the isolated island of Flora, the fossil remains of pygmy humans that science and anthropologists couldn't decide were genuine fossils of humans or of humans that had some disease that prevented their growth. What the experts failed to say was that much of the fauna of the island also appeared to have pygmy characteristics, Mother Earth producing what was suited to the region. So, according to What If, we had humans evolving all over the world. A creation with a brain evolved to absorb knowledge from the great cosmic book of life, and because we had hands able to use that knowledge to create, build, and extend. The infinite intelligence cosmic force now had hands. It needed no more material evolution. Hands could create in a year what had taken a millennium to evolve. The reality is that intelligence now had hands, and that we had been observing as the evolution of man had also been, in reality, the evolution of intelligence. We have learned that life evolved from the sea. An examination of sea life up through dolphins and whales show a depth of intelligence and communication, some in advance of humans. So why didn't this evolution continue? The reason lies in the water environment. The evolved physical forms in water couldn't develop hands, only flukes and fins. Therefore, there was an evolution there, no matter how intelligent, could do nothing but survive. The story of all material creations. Without hands, intelligence could only produce the beast. The dog could have been an Einstein, but without hands it could do nothing. Therefore, it could never be an Einstein. Hands gave intelligence the ability to evolve, to progress, to create and advance to what? All the human race deliberately crafted a tool for that intelligence force, a question that strikes a new scenario in the story of man.